When you look out your window on a rainy day, you're witnessing something truly extraordinary. That single drop of water tracing a path down the glass, the one that catches the light for just a moment before disappearing, has been alive on this planet longer than mountains. It has travelled further than any human ever will. It has been present at some of the most significant moments in Earth's history, and it will continue its journey long after we're gone. The rain falling outside right now isn't new. It isn't something that materialized into existence this morning when the clouds grew heavy and grey. Every single drop contains water molecules that are billions of years old. They existed before there were oceans. They existed before there were continents. They have been cycling through the Earth's systems in an endless, unbroken dance, transforming from one state to another, travelling from the deepest oceans to the highest clouds, flowing through rivers and soaking into soil, becoming part of living things and then being released back into the world again. Tonight at the Deep Sleep Channel we drift into the depths of water's story, a journey that began billions of years ago and continues still in every drop around you. This is the account of one of the most fundamental substances on our planet, and how that raindrop on your window today connects you not just to your immediate surroundings, but to every moment in Earth's deep history. Let's begin at the very beginning, in a time so distant that our minds can barely grasp it. 4.5 billion years ago, our solar system was very different. Dust and gas swirled around a young sun, slowly coalescing into planets. Earth was forming, a ball of molten rock bombarded by asteroids and comets. It was violent and chaotic and hot beyond what we can easily imagine. The surface temperature would have killed anything we might consider alive. But somewhere in all of this cosmic dust and debris, something remarkable was happening. Water molecules were being created. Some of it came from the solar nebula itself, the cloud of material from which the sun and planets formed. Some of it was delivered by comets and asteroids that collided with the young Earth. These icy visitors from the outer reaches of the solar system carried water with them, and as they crashed into our planet, they released that ancient ice. This water didn't immediately form the oceans we know today. Earth was too hot. The water vapor rose into the atmosphere, the same atmosphere that was so different from the one we breathe now. It contained no oxygen. It was thick with carbon dioxide and other gases that would be toxic to us. The water molecules drifted in this alien atmosphere, suspended in clouds that we wouldn't recognize. And then, gradually, the Earth began to cool. Not quickly. This process took millions of years, but slowly, inexorably, the temperature dropped. The molten surface began to solidify into a crust, and the water vapor began to condense. Picture this moment. Imagine standing on this early Earth, though you couldn't actually stand there because you would burn, and watching as the water began to fall from the sky, not in gentle rain as we know it, but in torrents so heavy that they would seem unimaginable. The rain fell and fell and fell. It fell for thousands of years. It fell until it had filled every depression, every basin, every low point in the rocky surface of the planet. The oceans were being born from this rain. That water, the water that fell in those first epic rainstorms, is still here. It's still cycling through our world. The molecules from those first oceans are in your body right now. They're in the air you breathe out. They're in the tears you cry. They're part of you in a way that connects you across billions of years to the formation of our planet itself. This is perhaps the most profound thing to understand about water. It doesn't disappear. It doesn't get used up. It transforms, certainly. It changes from one state to another, from liquid to gas to ice and back again. But the total amount of water on Earth has remained essentially constant for all of this time. Every water molecule on the planet now is a relic of the young Earth. Every single one. Think about what that means. Think about the enormous span of time separating you from the ancient world. Billions of years, countless ages, the rise and fall of countless species, the formation and destruction of mountains, the drift of continents across the globe. And through all of it, that water has been here, changing form but never disappearing. Once the oceans had formed, they became the dominant feature of our world. Roughly 71% of Earth's surface was covered with water then, just as it is now. The oceans were the stage upon which all the remarkable events of life's history would play out. In those early oceans, in the warm shallow seas and tidal pools, the first stirrings of life were beginning. We're not entirely sure how it happened. The origin of life remains one of science's great mysteries. But somewhere around 3.8 billion years ago, the first self-replicating molecules emerged. They were simple, far simpler than anything we might call alive today. But they had a crucial property. They could make copies of themselves. They could reproduce. And every one of these early organisms was made mostly of water. Water was the medium in which chemistry happened. Water was the solvent that allowed molecules to move around and interact with each other. Water was, in a very real sense, the cradle of life. Imagine those early oceans. The water that fills them isn't just neutral space. It's an active participant in the dance of life. Minerals dissolve into it. Energy flows through it. The first living things float in it, absorbing what they need from it, changing it, being changed by it in turn. And that same water, the exact same molecules, is being cycled through these organisms, through the oceans, through the atmosphere, in patterns that would eventually give rise to all the complexity of the living world. For a very long time, the oceans were the only place where life could exist. The land was barren. The atmosphere lacked oxygen. It was still toxic by our standards. The sun's radiation poured down unfiltered onto the surface. No complex life could survive there. But the bacteria and other microorganisms in the oceans were slowly changing things. One group, the cyanobacteria, developed the ability to use the energy of the sun to convert water and carbon dioxide into sugar and oxygen. This was photosynthesis, and it was revolutionary. The oxygen that these organisms released as a byproduct began to accumulate in the atmosphere. Slowly, gradually, over hundreds of millions of years, the atmosphere changed. Oxygen increased. The carbon dioxide decreased. The chemical composition of the planet shifted. This wasn't an instantaneous change. It took an enormous amount of time, and there were false starts and setbacks, but eventually the atmosphere became rich enough in oxygen that more complex life could begin to emerge. And still, the water cycled through everything. It was part of every organism that lived in those oceans. It was absorbed and released. It fell as rain. It evaporated from the sun-warmed ocean surface. It rose into clouds. It existed in every single chemical reaction that kept life going. Eventually, life began to move out of the oceans. It took millions of years, and it didn't happen all at once. But gradually, organisms developed the ability to survive on land. Plants came first, developing waxy coatings to prevent water loss and roots to draw water from the soil. Then came the animals, arthropods crawling across the damp ground, then fish that could breathe air, and eventually amphibians that could spend time both in water and on land. Water was no longer confined to the oceans and the atmosphere. It was now part of the living world in a much more complex way. Plants drew it up through their roots and transpired it back into the atmosphere. That molecule of water is cycling through the dinosaurs' system. It's being used in countless chemical reactions. It's part of the process of digestion. It's being excreted. Some of it is being transpired through the creature's skin. Some of it is being released as the dinosaur breathes out. The water is temporary inside the dinosaur. It's not holding the shape of that ancient creature. It's passing through. But for a moment, it's part of something remarkable, part of one of the largest animals that has ever walked the earth. Let's consider another moment. It's about 66 million years ago. An enormous asteroid, perhaps 6 miles across, is on a collision course with Earth. It's traveling at a tremendous speed, and in a few moments it will strike the planet and change everything. The impact happens in what is now the Yucatan Peninsula. The energy released is unimaginable, equivalent to billions of nuclear bombs. The asteroid vaporizes on impact. Rock melts. Dust and ash are thrown up into the atmosphere. The impact creates a crater so large that it would take centuries to walk across it, and the water responds violently. Tsunamis propagate outward from the impact site. Waves thousands of feet high crash across the planet's oceans. Water is thrown into the atmosphere along with all the dust and ash. The oceans darken as the dust blocks out the sun. The dinosaurs, those magnificent creatures that had dominated the planet for over 150 million years, begin to die. Some are killed instantly by the blast. Others starve as the food chain collapses. Within months, most large animals on the planet have perished. The age of dinosaurs is over, but the water remains. It falls from the sky. It flows, it evaporates, it continues its eternal cycle. The molecules of water that were part of living dinosaurs are now part of the atmosphere, the oceans, the soil. They're being taken up by the primitive mammals that are beginning to flourish in the new world left behind by the extinction. Time passes. Millions of years flow by like seconds when you're thinking in geological terms. The world changes. The continents continue their slow drift. Life diversifies. Mammals grow larger and more complex. Birds evolve and spread. Plants change. The world becomes increasingly familiar. About 3 million years ago, in what is now Africa, our ancestors were walking upright on the savannah. They were apes, but they were changing. They were developing bigger brains. They were learning to use tools. They were becoming something new. They were becoming human. Every drop of water that these early humans drank connected them to billions of years of Earth's history. The water in their bodies was water that had fallen in rain on the dinosaurs. It was water that had been present at the origin of life. It was ancient beyond reckoning. And like all the humans that would come after them, they depended completely on this water. They could survive for weeks without food, but only days without water. Their entire existence was structured around finding sources of water, following rivers, seeking out water holes, knowing where rain was likely to fall in the dry seasons. Let's move forward in time, but much more slowly now. Let's think about the last ice age, which reached its peak about 20,000 years ago. At this time, much more of Earth's water was locked up in ice. Ice sheets covered much of North America and Eurasia. Sea levels were hundreds of feet lower than they are today. Humans had spread across much of the world, following animal migrations, learning to live in different climates. A woman stands at the edge of a glacial meltwater lake. The water here is milky with suspended silt, particles of rock that have been ground to powder by the moving glacier. She is thirsty, and she kneels and drinks. The water is cold, so cold it makes her teeth ache, but it's water, and it sustains her. That water came from snow that fell as rain clouds drifted over the mountains. It accumulated year after year, compressing into ice. The weight of all that ice above pressed it down, and gravity pulled it slowly toward lower ground. The water from snowfall thousands of years before is now moving in slow motion through this glacier, traveling perhaps a few feet per year. When it reaches the edge of the glacier, where it's warm enough to melt, it becomes a river again. The woman drinks it, and it becomes part of her. It flows through her blood. It becomes tears or sweat. It's breathed back into the atmosphere, and it continues its journey. The ice ages came and went. Humans adapted. They learned to live in ice, in deserts, in rainforests, in mountains, in valleys. They developed agriculture around 10,000 years ago, learning to plant seeds and grow crops. This was a profound change in their relationship with water. Suddenly they needed to control it, to direct it to their fields, to store it for dry seasons, to predict when rains would come. Water became the basis of civilization. The great cities of ancient times arose in river valleys, the Tigris and Euphrates, the Nile, the Indus, the Yellow River. Water from these rivers allowed people to grow food. Water was used for drinking, for bathing, for religious ceremonies. The rise and fall of civilizations was often determined by the availability of water. Think of the Nile River in ancient Egypt. Every year the Nile would flood. The water would spread across the surrounding land, depositing rich soil and allowing farmers to grow crops. The ancient Egyptians organized their entire civilization around this annual flood. They built dikes to control it, reservoirs to store the water, canals to distribute it. The water in the Nile connected the lives of millions of people across thousands of years. And that water, that same water that watered the fields of ancient Egypt, had come from somewhere. It had evaporated from the Indian Ocean. It had drifted across Africa as vapor in the atmosphere. It had fallen as rain in the mountains of East Africa. It had flowed north through channels and rivers and gathered in the great river that sustained a civilization. Now let's think about a specific moment in ancient Egypt. It's about 2,500 years ago. A young woman, perhaps a servant or a minor official's daughter, is being brought to take a bath. This is a luxury. Water is precious, and baths are not something ordinary people have very often. Servants have been carrying water from the river and heating it over fires. She steps into a pool of warm water. The water envelops her. It touches her skin. It soaks into her hair. She washes away the dust and sweat of the day. For a few minutes, she is surrounded by water, and it feels good. The water she's bathing in has traveled an unimaginable journey. It evaporated from the ocean thousands of miles away. It drifted through the atmosphere. It fell as rain in a distant mountain range. It flowed into rivers and was eventually brought to this place. She doesn't know this. She doesn't think about water as something that cycles and moves and changes. To her, it's just water, essential, life-giving, necessary. She uses it and lets it go. It drains away back into the river eventually, or it soaks into the ground. But we know that the water from that bath didn't disappear. It evaporated into the air. It became part of the atmosphere again. It drifted. It fell as rain somewhere else. It soaked into soil and was drawn up by plant roots. It was drunk by animals. It became part of other people's bodies. It continued cycling through the world. The molecules of water that made up that bath thousands of years ago are still here. They could be part of your body right now. They could be in the cup of tea on your desk. They could be falling as rain outside your window. This isn't metaphorical. It's a genuine possibility, based on the statistical distribution of water molecules on Earth. Let's move forward in time. The medieval period. A monastery in Europe. Monks have been farming the land for centuries, and they've built an elaborate system of channels and mills to harness the power of water. Water from the mountains flows downhill. It's channeled into reservoirs. It's used to turn mill wheels that grind grain. It's used for drinking and cooking. A young monk, perhaps 16 years old, is working at the mill wheel. It's summer and he's hot. He leans down and cups his hand in the flowing water and drinks deeply. The water is cool and clean and tastes faintly of stone. It refreshes him. It seems to give him energy. This water has come from rain that fell on the surrounding hills. It's collected and channeled. It powers the entire livelihood of the monastery. Without it, there would be no flour for bread, no power for the mill, no drinking water for the monks. The water is central to their survival. The monk thinks about the water as something that comes from God. He sees it as a blessing. He's grateful for it. He doesn't know about the water cycle in the way we understand it. He doesn't know about evaporation and condensation and precipitation. But he knows that the water comes from the sky and that it sustains life. Time continues its forward march. Let's skip ahead to a more recent period. It's the 18th century in London. A city is growing, becoming larger and more complex. More and more people are crowded into a smaller and smaller space. The water systems are becoming overwhelmed. A woman is carrying water from the Thames River. This is her job. She's a water carrier. Every day she walks to the river, fills her buckets, and carries them to houses throughout the city. People need water for drinking, for cooking, for washing. But the Thames is becoming increasingly polluted. There are factories along its banks, and they're dumping waste into the water. There are sewers that drain into it. There are dead animals and worse. The water looks dirty. It smells bad. But people drink it anyway because they need to, because there's no alternative. That water is carrying disease. Cholera and typhoid and dysentery lurk in its polluted streams. People who drink it get sick. Many die. But at the time, nobody understands this connection. They don't know that water can carry tiny organisms that make people ill. They think disease is spread by bad air, miasma they call it. But even this dirty water is cycling through the world. It flows through the bodies of the people who drink it. Their bodies use it and expel it. It flows into sewers and eventually back into rivers. It evaporates. It's carried on the wind. It falls as rain somewhere else. And gradually, with some of the most polluted water, it's cleaned by the processes of nature, by evaporation and filtration and the breakdown of organic matter. The very act of cycling through the world's water systems tends to purify water. Not immediately and not completely. Pollution can persist for a very long time. But water's natural tendency is to be cleaned. Impurities sink to the bottom or are broken down by biological processes. Salts concentrate in the oceans but don't accumulate in the freshwater systems that feed life. Now let's think about more recent history, the 20th century. Humanity has grown dramatically. We've built cities and factories and farms. We've industrialized the planet. And in doing so, we've engaged in an unprecedented experiment with water. We've pumped it from deep underground aquifers that took thousands of years to fill. We've dammed rivers and created artificial lakes. We've diverted water across entire continents to supply cities and irrigate fields. We've polluted it with chemicals and waste. We've changed its temperature by releasing heat into rivers and lakes. We've altered its chemistry by introducing new compounds. And yet, and this is remarkable, the water itself continues to cycle. It doesn't disappear. The extra water we've pumped out eventually flows back into the oceans, or it evaporates and falls as rain elsewhere. The dams we've built only temporarily trap water before it flows over the spillway or seeps through the ground. The pollutants we've added cycle through the system like everything else. This doesn't mean our actions don't matter. They do. They have profound consequences for ecosystems and for human life. But the water itself, the actual H2O molecules, they continue their eternal dance. They're resilient in a way that we're only beginning to appreciate. Let's think about a specific moment in the 20th century. It's the middle of the century, during World War II. A soldier is in a desert, perhaps North Africa, perhaps somewhere in the Pacific. He's hot and thirsty. Water is precious out here. He rations it carefully, taking small sips from his canteen. The water in his canteen was filled from a rain collection system weeks or months ago. It came from rain that fell in a distant place. That rain came from clouds that form when water evaporates from the ocean. The cycle is continuous. The water in that glass has been cycling through the world for billions of years. It's been part of countless living things. It's been evaporated and rained and snowed and thawed. It's flowed through rivers and soaked into soil and risen as vapor into clouds. And now it's in a glass in a modern city, and a child is drinking it without any sense of the incredible journey it's made to get there. This brings us to the present moment. Today, right now. Look outside your window. Is it raining? If it is, those raindrops are falling on your window, on the ground, on trees and buildings and cars. Each drop is beginning or continuing its own particular journey in this moment, but it's also part of an ancient and ongoing process. That raindrop contains water molecules that were present when Earth formed. They've cycled through billions of years of history. They've been drunk by dinosaurs and absorbed by the earliest plants. They've flowed through the great civilizations of the world. They've been part of countless lives, and now they're falling on your window on this particular day, at this particular moment in time. This is a profound thought when you really sit with it. The boundary between the ancient world and the modern world isn't as clear as we sometimes imagine. Through water, through the air we breathe, through the food we eat, we're directly connected to every moment in Earth's history. The past isn't really past, it's cycling through us right now. Let's think more deeply about what the water cycle is and how it works. It's one of the most fundamental processes on our planet, and it's been operating continuously for billions of years. Water evaporates from the oceans, driven by the sun's heat. The sun's energy is the engine that powers the entire cycle. Solar radiation hits the ocean surface and imparts energy to the water molecules. Some of them gain enough energy to break free from the liquid and become gas, water vapor. This vapor rises into the atmosphere. As the water vapor rises, it cools. Air temperature decreases with altitude. When the vapor cools enough, it begins to condense. It transforms from gas back into liquid water. This happens around particles of dust and salt that float in the atmosphere. These particles serve as nuclei for condensation. Billions of water droplets cluster around each nucleus, and a cloud forms. When enough droplets accumulate in a cloud, they become heavy enough to fall. They coalesce together, growing larger. Eventually, they're heavy enough to overcome the updrafts that are holding them aloft, and they fall as rain or snow. This rain falls on the land or the ocean. If it falls on land, it might soak into the soil, where it's absorbed by plant roots and drawn up into the plant's vascular system. It might flow across the surface as runoff, gathering in streams and rivers that carry it back to the ocean. It might sit in a lake or pond. It might permeate deep into the ground and become part of the groundwater, the enormous reserves of water that exist beneath the surface. From any of these places, it might evaporate again, rising back into the atmosphere. Or it might be taken up by an organism, a plant or an animal. It might flow into the ocean, which covers so much of our planet, and then eventually it will evaporate again from the ocean's surface, and the cycle will continue. This cycle has been operating for billions of years, and it's one of the most perfect systems that exists in nature. It's completely self-sustaining. The sun provides the energy. The Earth's rotation and tilt create weather patterns that distribute water around the planet. The interconnection of all these processes means that life has been sustained continuously for all that time. And the remarkable thing is that the total amount of water remains constant. We're not creating new water, and we're not destroying it. The water that falls as rain today is water that has always been here. It's the same water, cycling in different forms. Scientists estimate that the average water molecule has been cycling through the water cycle for about 10 days to 2 weeks at a time. That is, the amount of time between when it evaporates and when it falls as rain again. But this is just for one cycle. After it falls, it might sit in the soil for months or years. It might be incorporated into a living organism for even longer. The individual journey of each molecule is unique, but let's think about the larger timescales. Over thousands of years, every molecule of water on Earth cycles through every major reservoir: the oceans, the atmosphere, the land, the living things. Over millions of years, a water molecule has almost certainly been part of countless different places and things. It's been in dinosaurs and humans and plants and microorganisms. It's been in clouds and oceans and glaciers and rivers. And we can think about this in a different way, not by following individual molecules, but by thinking about statistical probability. There are roughly 1.4 billion cubic kilometers of water on Earth. There are roughly 7 billion people alive today. If we assume that the water molecules are distributed randomly throughout these various reservoirs, then statistically, each person is drinking on average a small amount of water that was once part of every other person who's ever lived. This is a famous calculation, and it's both humbling and strange. The water you drink has probably been part of Julius Caesar and Cleopatra and George Washington and Napoleon and countless people whose names were never recorded. Not because those particular molecules are somehow special or contain memories, but simply because water mixes thoroughly over time and molecules get distributed randomly. Now let's think about the implications of all this. What does it mean to understand that you're drinking water that's been cycling through the Earth for billions of years? The molecule has been on this planet since its formation. It has been part of countless creatures and countless places. It will continue this journey for billions of years more. Understanding the water cycle in this way, as something continuous and ancient and eternal, can change the way you think about water. It's not just a resource that we use. It's not something that appeared for our benefit. It's a fundamental part of the Earth system, and we're just one part of a much larger whole. This perspective can inspire a sense of respect for water. Water has been sustaining life on Earth for billions of years. It's allowed creatures of extraordinary complexity and beauty to evolve. It's powered civilizations. It's given birth to consciousness itself, to the ability to think and reflect and wonder about the world. When you drink a glass of water, you can recognize that you're participating in something that's been happening continuously since the Earth formed. You're taking up water that's been through countless journeys, countless transformations. You're becoming temporarily part of a process that will continue long after you're gone. Let's think about what this means for the future. The water cycle will continue as long as the sun shines and Earth has a magnetic field to protect it from the solar wind. That's billions of years into the future. But things will change, of course. Eventually, billions of years from now, the sun will become a red giant. It will expand and engulf the inner planets. Earth will be destroyed. The water that has been cycling through our planet will be released into space. It might become part of other planets. It might drift for eons in the void. But that's so far in the future that it's barely worth contemplating. For practical purposes, the water cycle will continue indefinitely. What might change is how the water cycle operates. Climate change is already altering precipitation patterns. Some places are getting more rain, others less. Some areas that used to be reliably rainy are becoming drier. Some deserts are becoming wetter. The distribution of water around the planet is shifting. But the fundamental cycle continues. Water still evaporates from the oceans. It still condenses into clouds. It still falls as rain or snow. The total amount of water on Earth remains constant. What changes is how that water is distributed, how it's accessed, and how it's used by living things. And that changes affect us profoundly. Water scarcity is already a serious problem in many parts of the world. As climate patterns shift, this will likely intensify. The water cycle itself is not broken, but the way it's distributed is becoming increasingly challenging for human societies. This brings us back to the present moment. Back to you reading this, wherever you are. The rain that might be falling outside your window, or that might fall tomorrow or next week, is part of this ancient and ongoing cycle. The water you drink came from somewhere. It fell as rain or was pumped from underground. It flowed through pipes to reach you. But before that, it had a journey. It was part of the ocean or the atmosphere. It was part of other organisms. It has been cycling through the Earth for billions of years. And after you drink it and use it, it will continue. It will become part of your body. It will be perspired from your skin or breathed out or used in your tears or digestion or urination. It will return to the environment. It will evaporate or flow into rivers. It will become part of other creatures. It will cycle on. This isn't poetic metaphor. This is literal biological and physical reality. When you engage with water, you're engaging with one of the most fundamental processes on Earth. You're participating in something that's been ongoing for billions of years. There's something deeply grounding about this perspective. When you really take it in, when you sit with it and let it settle into your understanding, it can shift how you experience the world. Water becomes less something that belongs to you or that you own, and more something that you're temporarily part of. You're borrowing it from the earth, you're using it for your life, and then you're returning it. It will continue on in the world, cycling through countless other forms and places. This can inspire a sense of humility. You're not as important as you sometimes think you are. You're part of a much larger system. Your life is a brief moment in the history of water, in the history of Earth. But paradoxically, this can also feel liberating. If your life is just one moment in an enormous span of time, then your anxieties and concerns, while real and important, are also small and temporary. They don't matter in the grand scheme of things. Let's think about the experience of water in your daily life with this perspective in mind. When you take a shower, the water cascading over your body is part of the water cycle. This brings us to a fundamental question about identity. What are you? You think of yourself as a discrete individual, separate from the world around you. But what if you looked at yourself from the perspective of the water cycle? You're a temporary arrangement of water and carbon and other elements. The water in your body is constantly being replaced. The cells in your body are constantly dying and being replaced. The carbon in your body has come from the food you eat and will eventually return to the world, either as carbon dioxide breathed into the atmosphere or as part of the soil after your body decays. You're not a fixed permanent entity. You're a temporary pattern in the flow of matter and energy through the world. You're an eddy in the river of the universe. This isn't meant to be nihilistic or depressing. It's meant to be liberating. If you're not a fixed entity, then you're not really separate from the rest of the world. The boundary between you and the environment is not as clear as you think. You're part of the continuous flow of matter and energy. You're part of the water cycle. Understanding this can change how you relate to other people. They're also made of water. They're also cycling matter and energy. They're also part of the same fundamental processes that sustain all life on Earth. When you look at another person, you're looking at water and carbon arranged in a particular way. You're looking at consciousness and the ability to feel and think and love. But underneath all of that, you're looking at the same material that makes up everything else. Ancient water that's been cycling through the earth for billions of years. This can inspire a sense of compassion. If we're all made of the same material, if we're all part of the same cycle, then in a sense we're not really separate. We're all part of a larger whole. Let's return to the image that started all of this, a raindrop on your window. You're looking at that drop of water. It's sitting there on the glass, distorting the light, refracting it into little rainbows. It will soon evaporate or drip down or mix with other drops, but for this moment it's a distinct individual drop. And yet, that drop is not separate from the world. It's part of the water cycle. It fell from a cloud that formed over the ocean. It was part of vapor that drifted on the wind. It's been cycling through the earth for billions of years. It might have been drunk by a dinosaur. It might have been part of the ocean when life was just beginning. It might have been part of a human who lived thousands of years ago. It might have been part of a plant or an animal or a person. And after it falls from your window, it will continue. It will evaporate or flow into a river. It will become part of other things. It will cycle on. You're connected to that raindrop through the water cycle. You're connected to every raindrop that has ever fallen on Earth, because the water inside you is the same water that's falling outside. It's all part of the same cycle. It's all ancient. It's all interconnected. This is the story of the Library of Forgotten Rain. Not a library made of books or buildings, but a library of memory encoded in water molecules. Every raindrop is a record of a journey. Every drop has a history that spans billions of years. The rain is a palimpsest, a surface that's been written on over and over, with each new writing obscuring but not erasing what came before. The water has been part of countless stories. It has absorbed the experiences of billions of years of Earth's history, and now it's part of your story. When you drink that rain, when you feel it on your skin, when you see it falling outside your window, you're reading a page from this vast library. You're connecting to every moment of Earth's history. You're part of a story that's been unfolding since the planet formed. The Library of Forgotten Rain is a reminder that we're not separate from the natural world. We're part of it. The water inside us is the same water that's in the oceans and the clouds and the rivers. It's the same water that's been cycling through the earth for billions of years. It's the same water that's been part of every plant and animal that's ever lived. When we treat water with respect, when we use it carefully, when we protect it from pollution, when we recognize its preciousness, we're honoring billions of years of history. We're recognizing that we're part of something much larger than ourselves. We're acknowledging that the water we use today might be the water that sustains someone else tomorrow. The rain that falls is not something new or separate from us. It's us. It's part of the cycle that we're part of. It's ancient and it's present, and it will continue into the future. Let's think about this one more time, bringing together all the threads. Billions of years ago, water appeared on Earth. It's been here ever since, cycling through countless forms and places. It's been part of the earliest organisms and the greatest dinosaurs. It's flowed through ancient civilizations and modern cities. It's been part of countless humans, people whose names we know, and countless people whose names were never recorded. And that same water is here right now. It's in your body. It's in the air you breathe. It's in the rain falling outside your window. When you engage with water, when you drink it or wash with it, or see it falling from the sky, you're engaging with one of the most fundamental forces on Earth. You're participating in a cycle that's been unfolding for billions of years. You're part of something ancient and eternal. The individual molecules of water don't remember their journeys. They don't have consciousness or memory, but their journeys are recorded in the patterns of the Earth's systems, in the distribution of isotopes, in the composition of minerals, in the evolution of life. The Library of Forgotten Rain is the record of these journeys, written not in words or symbols, but in the patterns of water's movement through time and space. And you are part of this library. Your body is part of the record. The water inside you carries within it the history of billions of years. You are a page in this vast and ancient story. As the rain continues to fall outside your window, you might feel something shift in your perspective. The rain is not separate from you. You are part of it, and it is part of you. The boundary between your body and the environment is not as clear as you once thought. You are water that has learned to think. You are stardust that has learned to feel. You are part of the vast, interconnected, eternally cycling system that is Earth and the universe beyond. And in this moment, as you sit with this understanding, you can feel your connection to every moment of Earth's history. You can feel the presence of countless creatures that came before you. You can feel the vast span of time that has brought you to this moment. The rain falls, the water cycles, and you are part of it all.